This is a short talk on how to use your iPad to be able to annotate images or other parts of your presentation. Annotation is a very nice technique. It engages the audience. It helps you in radiology be able to identify structures and anatomy for them, helps clarify things for them, and you can easily put annotations on and off. And when you're using your iPad, it's much easier than using the mouse in PowerPoint. You can directly use your finger or stylus for this. There are two different ways of doing this. One where your iPad is directly hardwired to the LCD projector, and the second where it is wirelessly connected to the presenting computer or laptop. And the latter is particularly nice because it gets you out from behind the podium, and it also allows you to have your students or other learners directly annotate the images themselves without having to come up to the podium. There are also different options in terms of the apps. There are apps that allow your iPad to control your PC, but the majority of apps are just transmitting to your PC, and then your PC or your Mac is connected to the projection computer. In terms of the apps which run your presentation on the iPad and then transmit that signal either wired or wirelessly to your projection computer, the ones that I use most commonly are either PowerNote or Keynote. So I'm going to talk about some of the different apps that you use to run the presentation on your computer. In terms of transmitting apps, the most common one I use is PowerPoint, and Keynote being an alternative, and SlideShark and 2Screens, and I'll talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of all of these. The best app that I've come across for controlling your PC remotely from your iPad is Doceri. There are other ones around, but this is the one I'm certainly most familiar with. And this works in a somewhat different way, and so we'll talk about that at the end. The PowerPoint app is free if all you want to do is present your slides. However, if you want to actually be editing them, you'll have to have an Office 365 subscription, which costs about $100 a year for 5 computers and 5 tablets, so it works as a family subscription, for example. You can, if you have that subscription, both make and edit your slides. It does keep all the original PowerPoint formatting if you have PowerPoint on Mac or PC. It has a pretty nice set of annotation tools. You can use presenter view, so it does allow you to be able to see your speaker notes, which I like. It will put all your original animations and movies and even the slide transitions in. So that's a useful feature. Keynote is similar, that you can make and edit slides, and if you're a Keynote Mac user, then this is something you probably would want to use. But if you use PowerPoint on PC or PowerPoint on a Mac, it will make formatting changes and you try and do the conversion. Again, has presenter view, again allows animations and movies and some basic annotations. I found the annotation function to be a little bit irritating when I'm presenting. It's much cheaper, however, it's only $10. SlideShark is something that I've used a lot, and I was using this predominantly before the new PowerPoint came out. It does not allow editing. You upload your talk via the web from your laptop. It does keep the speaker notes. You can upload straight into PowerPoint formatting. It does keep the animations and the movies there, and it allows some basic annotations. It does provide you with a broadcasting function, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it is a little bit laggy in terms of when your annotations appear. The free edition has limitations as to the number of slides you can put in. I think it's around 50. And you now have to have a paid version of $8 a month or $12 for a month for a team. 2Screens is the final transmitting app that I've used a lot of. It has pros and cons. It does not allow you to do any editing. Your talks are much best loaded as PDFs because it tends to switch the formatting somewhat. And it doesn't allow you to put animations or movies in. It does have quite good annotation functions, however, and I do use this a lot in some of my student workshops. It's also two outstanding areas to my mind is it does allow broadcasting to overcome problems with Wi-Fi wireless connections. And again, I'll show you those in a minute. It does allow you to have multiple presentations, which they call boards or tabs, open at any one time, so you can switch between different image collections, for example. And finally, you can have as many images as you want contained within image folders within two screens. And so I have, for example, the whole AMSA ID collection of 6,000 plus images on my iPad, easily accessible in folders and in hierarchical folders, and they keep the names of the images, which otherwise you lose all your image names on iPads, and it's very cheap. So Doceri is different in that it will use your iPad to control your desktop, so it allows you to have remote control of programs on your PC. Anything that's running on your PC can be controlled by Doceri, and it allows you to annotate on top of those and also record what you're doing in terms of annotations. It has the other advantage that it uses the native resolution of your PC, so whatever your slides are resolution they're in, providing there is an adequate LCD projector, it will show that. The other apps that I described, if you're using them wirelessly, they are dependent on the bandwidth, and sometimes you can lose some resolution. It also works with ad hoc networks, we'll talk about right at the end, and it is, however, more expensive. It costs $30. So let's think about how we can do our connections. Well, first of all, we can hardwire our iPad directly to the LCD projector by buying one of these little dongles here. They cost around $30 to $40. You can either have them, depending on the connection of your projector, either HDMI or a regular VGA connection. And you just plug this into your iPad and this end here into the projector cable. I like to use wireless connections. I like to get from behind the podium, get in front of the audience. It's much more engaging in the audience. And also I teach a lot of workshops where my iPad is going to be handed around the students, and the students are going to be the ones annotating the images rather than me, and obviously that has to be wireless for that to work. There are several different methods to make wireless connections work, and unfortunately you may have to experiment a little to see what is going to work in your particular institution or the places you commonly lecture. Method number one is to attach an Apple TV to your projector or to your computer and have the Apple TV on the wireless network for your institution. Apple TVs are now pretty cheap. You can get them for around $70 to $90. Once your Apple TV is on the wireless network at the institution and your iPad must be connected to the same wireless network, you're then going to use AirPlay to connect to that Apple TV. So if you drag up from the bottom of your iPad screen, you will get this grey bar with a variety of different functions appear. And if a device that uses AirPlay is nearby, you will see this AirPlay logo. If you're not seeing it, it means you've done something wrong in terms of either the Apple TV or your iPad not being on the same wireless network. Once you see that, you find the device that you're looking for, the Apple TV here, you select it, and then you must select mirroring. Right. If you're not seeing that mirroring button, sometimes it's gone a little bit below and you have to just kind of scroll up a bit and you'll see it. At that point, it should display, sometimes it takes a few seconds, whatever is on your iPad is going to come up onto the screen of your projector. You can then annotate depending on what program you're in. So go into PowerPoint, for example, for iPad, go into presentation mode, and you'll just be able to carry on straight from there. Method number two, instead of buying an Apple TV, you can make your laptop act as an Apple TV using an app called AirServer. So you download AirServer. AirServer costs, I think it's $15, and you install that on your PC or your Mac and have it running in the background. it will then make your computer think it's an Apple TV. You then do exactly the same in terms of AirPlay, so dragging up from the bottom, you'll again see the AirPlay logo if there is one available. And in this case, instead of selecting Apple TV, I'm selecting my laptop, which is pretending to be an Apple TV. And same again, you then select mirroring and you give it a second or two, and that should appear on the screen of your laptop and hence onto the projector. If you're using two screens rather than using the built-in iPad AirPlay menu that I just showed you, you can select Tools in the upper right-hand corner and then select AirPlay, and it will go directly into it without having to go into a different program. So both of the previous two methods I showed you, the Apple TV and using AirServer, use the built-in AirPlay function on an iPad. Now sometimes you won't see that little AirPlay icon showing, and that's usually because either there's problems with local Wi-Fi in terms of signal strength, or more commonly that there are security issues of the local network that prevent them connecting. And so there are two options that you can use in that situation. One is that you broadcast from SlideShark. So remember I said that SlideShark has a broadcasting function. When you're in SlideShark, you select this little radio tower sign. You then ask it to broadcast. It will bring up this bar here. You can either you can ask it to start broadcasting. You can set some security code information if you want, and it will then go straight into this, and you can stop broadcasting later. Now it's going to show you a web address down here. So once you've set this up on your iPad, you can go to a browser on your PC or your Mac, and you can put in that web address there, and it will show whatever is displaying in SlideShark in terms of its presentation at that time. And you just got to, this is very self-evident when you go in and do it. If you don't want to have to copy down all those letters, you can click invite, put your email address in, and it will send you an email, or anyone else an email link to be able to connect to your presentation. A very similar function exists if you use two screens. In this case, you go under the Tools menu again, and instead of clicking the AirPlay, you click AirShow. And I know it's really, really confusing having all these things called Air something rather, but this one's called AirShow. You select it, and it's then again going to give you a link. Go to a browser, type in that address exactly, in Chrome for example, or you can send it to yourself again to have a clickable link, and you will go to a screen which will show you exactly what's happening on your iPad, including all the annotations that are going on. So what I'm showing here is, this is from using the two screens method, that I have gone in Chrome to this HTTP address that was shown previously, and it is now showing, my Chrome screen is now showing whatever I'm doing on my iPad, and as I'm doing my annotations they will appear on the screen. All browsers including Chrome have the ability to do a full screen display. You just have to go full, depending on which browser it is, it's usually view presenter mode or view full screen, and you can get rid of all the tabs and menus around it, and it will look exactly as if you're projecting straight from your laptop. Final connection method I'd like to tell you about is Doceri. I've started to play with this a little bit more and beginning to really like it. So what Doceri is doing is it's basically controlling your computer from an iPad, as I said before. So when you go into Doceri, you're going to select this option here, through a computer. You select that. You then run Doceri desktop on your PC or your Mac, and it's going to come up with this little connection dashboard. The nice thing about making connections here, they seem to be a little bit more trouble-free. You then point your iPad camera at this QR code here, and it will automatically make the connection for you. Once you're into that, your iPad screen is going to show whatever is displayed on your laptop. So it's the other way around. The other apps I showed you display on your laptop what's showing on your iPad. This does it the other way around. So now I have what's showing here on my desktop. These items at the top are part of the Doceri toolbar, and this is what's showing on my laptop, all this stuff here. And this is just the connection dashboard that shows that it's making a good connection here. By clicking with your finger or a cursor on any part of the screen, it will act exactly as if you're clicking with your mouse on your laptop. So you can, for example, select other programs. You can open programs from the desktop, or you can even click on this keyboard here and it will bring up a full-size keyboard for you to enter keyboard function keys. If you open up a PowerPoint presentation, I'm running here a PowerPoint presentation in screen show mode, you can then annotate on it exactly using the tools at the top, similar to on the other programs. If you're interested in Doceri, I suggest you go to their website. They have a fully functional demo that you can download, have a play around with it. They have some good videos on their site that will show you how to do stuff. So just some general concepts. You know, these are really fun to do. People who get used to them love doing them. I now hate giving talks and behind the podium using a mouse as opposed to being able to get out with my iPad. But do play with the software ahead of session, and if you're going to be presenting somewhere you haven't before, then check the connections in the room and allow time to be able to set up. Turning up at 11:59 for a 12 o'clock talk is probably not going to work very well. I also always go along with plan B and frequently C and D, particularly if I'm presenting somewhere, even if it's a different room in the same institution that I haven't before. And the trouble usually results because of some Wi-Fi networks blocking AirPlay due to part of their security settings. One way around this is to be able to use, if you have an iPhone that has hotspot function, you can plug that in and you can just connect both your laptop and your iPad to that same iPhone hotspot, and that works very well. And as a last resort, you can set up an ad hoc network. I'm not going to go into the details of doing that here. It's very easy to just Google it. And basically all you do is you set up a little local network using either your PC or your Mac. And that allows computer-to-computer connection, so it will allow your iPad to connect directly to it. You cannot get onto the internet, however, from your laptop while you're doing this unless it's hardwired. And my advice, if AirPlay is mucking around and you can't do things, totally reboot your laptop, hard reboot your iPad, which you do by holding the on-off button and the home button at the same time until the Apple icon comes up. And usually those sort the problem out. Well, I hope this has been helpful to you. Please contact me at petra.lewis@hitchcock.org if you have other questions. I think this is a great teaching tool and I use it all the time.